Imagine turning on the tap in Denmark and pouring yourself a glass of water so pure. Locals say it's better than bottled, without filters, without worry. But how is that even possible? Lead with a qualifying hook, cleaner than bottled. Then pose a question to spark curiosity. How is that even possible? Later in the video, you'll discover how Denmark manages to lose only approximately 8% of its treated water, while many countries lose up to 60%. Sustainability and green energy. Viking heritage. Welfare system. New Nordic food. Welcome to Denmark Explained, your front row seat to the hidden gems, quirky traditions, and powerful stories that make Danish culture truly unforgettable. Let's start with the real secret behind why tap water here is so remarkably clean. Unlike most countries, where water often comes from rivers, lakes, or reservoirs, almost every single drop in this country comes straight from underground aquifers. That means it's naturally filtered through layers of soil and rock long before it even reaches a treatment plant. Imagine your water being purified by nature itself, long before humans touch it. And here's the surprising part. Because the water is already so pure, it requires almost no chemical treatment. No chlorine-heavy process, no industrial cleaning steps. In fact, in many areas, the water only needs simple aeration or pH adjustment before it's ready to drink. That's why so many visitors notice it tastes fresher and cleaner than what they're used to. Hold on to that thought. We'll return later to why taste really matters. But purity at the source isn't the whole story. The real success lies in prevention. Instead of waiting until water is dirty and then trying to fix it, the system here is designed to stop pollution before it happens. Authorities strictly protect groundwater areas from contamination, ensuring that what flows underground stays clean. It's a philosophy of prevention over cure, and it works. Now think about this. In some parts of the world, nearly half of treated water is lost due to leaky pipes. But here, only about 8% disappears on the way to your tap. That's one of the lowest loss rates on the planet. It's not just about clean water, it's about making sure that clean water actually arrives where it's needed. And what about safety? Every large water system is tested multiple times a year for bacteria, pesticides, and chemical residues. The failure rate is close to zero. That's right, close to zero. You can pour a glass with confidence, knowing it's as safe as it is refreshing. Here's something else that might surprise you. Access to safe water here is universal. Whether you're in the middle of a city or out in a small village, the tap water meets the same strict standards. Compare that with countries where bottled water is the only safe option, and you begin to see why locals are so proud of this everyday resource. And let's not forget efficiency. The average person here uses about 105 liters of water a day, which is less than the European average. That's not just sustainable, it's a reflection of a culture that values resources and respects nature. So, when visitors ask, "Can I drink the tap water?" the answer isn't just yes, it's a confident yes. It's a yes backed by natural filtering, prevention-first policies, world-class infrastructure, and universal access. And we're only scratching the surface. Later, we'll see how forests, farms, and even local communities all play a role in keeping it that way. Speaking of farming and forests, did you know they're allies in ensuring your tap water stays clean? Let's loop back to that in a moment as we dive deeper. When people ask why the tap water here is so safe, most expect the answer to be high-tech treatment plants or fancy filtering machines. But the truth is a little more surprising. It's nature itself, combined with local communities, that does much of the heavy lifting. Take forests, for example. Water suppliers actually plant trees in sensitive groundwater zones. Why? Because tree roots and forest soil act like a living shield, preventing pesticides, fertilizers, and other chemicals from seeping into the underground aquifers. Think about that the next time you see a forest. It's not only producing fresh air, it may also be protecting the glass of water on your table. And then there are the farmers. In many regions, farmers partner directly with local water suppliers. Instead of using certain pesticides or fertilizers that could pollute groundwater, they adopt eco-friendly practices. In return, they are supported financially or given alternative solutions. This way, farming stays strong while the water stays clean. Isn't that an interesting balance, protecting both food and water at the same time? Of course, nature alone isn't enough. Human oversight plays a major role. Every municipality is legally required to monitor water quality several times a year. They test for bacteria, nitrates, pesticides, and heavy metals, and if even a trace of contamination is detected, wells are shut down immediately. No hesitation, no delays. In fact, hundreds of wells have been permanently closed over the years to ensure that only the safest water reaches households. That's a level of safety most countries can only dream of. Here's another detail that makes the system unique. There isn't just one giant water company. Instead, there are more than 2,000 local waterworks spread across the country. Many of them are even owned by local communities. That means the people drinking the water are also the ones helping to protect it. Imagine having a direct say in how your own water supply is managed. How's that for community involvement? Another layer of protection comes from the way land is managed. More than a third of the land is set aside as protected water zones. In these areas, farming and industrial activity face restrictions to make sure underground reserves remain untouched. It's a proactive approach: protect the land, and you protect the water. And finally, let's not forget transparency. If contamination is ever detected, consumers are notified right away through public announcements and digital alerts. That kind of immediate communication builds trust. People don't just assume their water is safe, they know it is, because they see the testing results and updates for themselves. So, when you combine forests, farmers, local communities, strict laws, and rapid communication, you get more than just clean water. You get a system that's both natural and people-powered. And later, we'll see why all of this adds up to something surprising. Tap water here often beats bottled water in quality and taste. I've shared how Denmark protects water through natural buffers like forests, and how its decentralized yet rigorous monitoring keeps systems safe. Which do you think is more crucial for tap water purity in Denmark? A. The natural protections, trees, farms, and aquifers, or B. The human systems, regulations, waterworks, and continuous testing? Let me know in the comments. Planning a trip to Denmark? Or maybe you're moving there soon? Don't just Google your way through it. Let DenmarkExplained.com be your shortcut to a smoother, smarter, and way more fun experience. At DenmarkExplained.com/products, you'll find itineraries, ready-made plans that turn confusion into unforgettable days. eBooks, packed with local insights, cultural tips, and everyday know-how. No boring history lessons, just stuff that actually helps. Expat guides, moving to Denmark? Get the info you wish someone told you before you landed. Everything's digital, everything's simple, and everything's designed to make Denmark feel less confusing, and way more cozy. So skip the stress, and get the guides that explain Denmark, clearly, cleverly, and in plain English. Check it out now at DenmarkExplained.com/products. Your trip, our tips, let's make it amazing. In the middle of this journey? If you're learning something new, hit like, subscribe, and share this video with someone who loves sustainable living or is planning a move to Denmark. And drop your choice above. Before we explore Denmark's cost and efficiency, let me loop back to that early point about cleaner than bottled. We'll compare that next. Have you ever thought about why so many people in Denmark skip bottled water entirely and just drink straight from the tap? Let's dive into why tap water here isn't just safe, it's often considered better than bottled. First, let's talk about standards. Tap water has to meet some of the strictest safety requirements in Europe. It's regularly tested for bacteria, nitrates, pesticides, and heavy metals. In fact, the rules for tap water are at least as tough as those for bottled water, and in many cases even stricter. That means when you pour yourself a glass from the sink, you're getting water that's as regulated as what you find on store shelves. But here's the twist: it comes at a fraction of the price. Speaking of price, this is where things really get interesting. A liter of tap water costs about half a cent. Compare that to bottled water, which can be anywhere from 50 cents to €2 per liter. Do the math, and bottled water can be 100 to 400 times more expensive. Imagine buying a cup of coffee and then realizing your neighbor got the same one for 400 times less. That's how big the gap is. And then there's the environmental side. Producing bottled water has a carbon footprint that's up to 2,000 times higher per liter compared to tap water. On top of that, all those plastic bottles add up. A single person relying on bottled water can generate up to 30 kilograms of plastic waste per year. Now picture a city full of people doing the same. It's not hard to see why most residents choose the tap instead. Here's something else to think about: trust. Surveys show that people here overwhelmingly drink tap water every single day. Bottled water is usually just for travel or when you forget your reusable bottle. That trust is backed by the fact that Denmark ranks among the very top worldwide on the Water Environmental Performance Index, scoring 95.8 out of 100. That's almost as close to perfect as it gets. So the question becomes, why pay more for less? Locals often encourage visitors to just refill their bottles from the tap. In fact, some even laugh at the idea of spending money on bottled water when the tap is not only safe but also tastes fresh and natural. But here's a fun paradox. Even though the tap water is so good, bottled water is still sold in stores, mainly for tourists who don't know the difference. So let me ask you, if you were moving to a new country, would you feel safer buying bottled water just in case, or would you trust the tap if the locals swore by it? Now, what about future challenges, like urban demand and contamination? Stick around, I'll show how Denmark is staying ahead. Even though the tap water here is already clean and safe, the story doesn't end there. The country is constantly looking ahead to protect this precious resource for the future. One major focus is groundwater protection. Nearly all drinking water comes from carefully monitored underground aquifers, and the surrounding land is strictly controlled to prevent contamination. Imagine a giant natural filter, shielded from harmful chemicals, right beneath your feet. But nature alone isn't enough. Climate change is already making storms heavier and rainfall more unpredictable. That's why water utilities are investing billions in climate-proofing the system. Pipes are being upgraded, reservoirs reinforced, and drainage optimized to ensure that no matter how extreme the weather, clean water keeps flowing. It's an approach that most countries are still catching up to, but here it's already happening. Technology plays a huge role too. Sensors and smart meters monitor water quality in real time. That means if a problem occurs, even a minor one, it's detected instantly. Repairs can be made before anyone ever notices a drop of water is affected. And while we're talking about contaminants, the country has set some of the strictest limits in Europe for chemicals like PFAS, ensuring long-term safety even against compounds that can linger in the environment for decades. Energy use is another key focus. Some water utilities are already energy positive, generating more power than they consume through biogas and wastewater treatment. And by 2030, the entire sector aims to be completely carbon neutral. That's right, clean water that's not only safe but also sustainable and climate-friendly. Even with all this technology and regulation, community trust remains central. Over 90% of residents say they trust the tap more than bottled water. That level of confidence doesn't happen by accident. It comes from decades of careful monitoring, transparency, and involving local communities in decision-making. People aren't just drinking water, they're part of the system that protects it. Finally, the country is exporting its expertise worldwide. From smart monitoring systems to sustainable groundwater management, other nations are learning from this approach. That means what started as a local success story is now influencing water safety globally. So, when you take a sip of tap water, you're not just drinking a safe, refreshing beverage. You're experiencing a system that combines natural protection, cutting-edge technology, sustainability, and community trust. And that's why, even decades from now, the water will remain one of the cleanest and safest in the world. It's a powerful reminder. Clean water isn't just about what's in your glass today. It's about the foresight, planning, and innovation that ensures every drop stays safe for generations to come. Thanks for watching. I hope your next glass of Danish tap water tastes even better now. Want more insider guides about life in Denmark? Click on the playlist to your right, and I'll see you in the next video.